What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today I'm going to be showing you guys my latest FPL draft, and this time there is no Erling Haaland. We're going to be going heavy in midfield and we're going to be playing a 3-5-2 formation. So starting off with the two forward spots, we've got Alexander Isak and João Pedro.
Let's go, that's class!
In my opinion, Alexander Isak is one of the best FPL forwards to start the season with. He found himself in fantastic goal scoring form last season, bagging a total of 21 goals and 4 assists.
That is bloody lovely.
Isak also has some great fixtures. He plays against Southampton at home in game week 1, Bournemouth away in game week 2, Spurs at home in game week 3, Wolves away in game week 4. You guys can see here the fixtures are really good, but not only does he have brilliant fixtures, I think Alexander Isak provides a great captaincy option. I think because we don't have Haaland in this draft, we're going to need to find other reliable plays that we can trust with the captain's armband, and I genuinely think Alexander Isak can give you that confidence, especially in game week 1 where he's playing Southampton at home, and in game week 2 even where he's playing Bournemouth away. I think those two first fixtures are really good captain options for your FPL teams if you're going to have Isak in there. I mean, even me personally, I've already mentioned in my previous video, I'm probably going to be captaining Alexander Isak in game week 1 against Southampton, even if I do have Haaland in my draft. To be fair, whether I have Haaland or don't have Haaland in my personal draft, I think I'll be captaining Isak because I think he is the best captain option for game week 1. And I think João Pedro at 5.5 million is a very good cheap option, especially if he can consistently start games, because he also does take penalties for Brighton, which is a huge bonus. Obviously, Roberto De Zerbi has left Brighton and we don't know how Brighton are going to perform under their new manager. They could be better, but they could also be worse. We just don't know at this point. We also don't know what the new Brighton manager is going to choose as his main starting 11. We don't know if he's going to rotate a lot or if he's going to stick with a certain 11. There's a lot of unanswered questions that we do have, so there's a lot of uncertainty there with Brighton. I do understand that, but at 5.5 million for a play that takes penalties as well, I just think João Pedro is a very good option to have in your team. Unfortunately, we don't have Ollie Watkins in this draft. I just couldn't afford him.
So we don't have the capacity.
But moving on into the big boy midfield, we've got Mohamed Salah, Phil Foden, Cole Palmer, Bukayo Saka and Anthony Elanga.
I fucking love it!
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I think this could actually be one of the best midfields you can get in FPL right now. I mean, we've literally got 4 of the 5 top scoring FPL midfielders from last season. I've gone for Mohamed Salah because since we don't have Haaland in this draft, I feel like Salah is a must. Liverpool probably have the best fixtures out of anyone to start the season, and Salah has proven time and time again that he is one of the best players to own in FPL.
That's why he's the GOAT!
He scores lots of goals consistently and provides a great captain option for the team. Some people might argue that we don't know how Liverpool will perform under their new manager, but at the end of the day, Salah has proven time and time again that he can get the job done. So I'm gonna stick with the trusty man, especially because we don't have Haaland in this draft. And like I said, man, the fixtures are too good to ignore. Whether Liverpool are without Jurgen Klopp or with Jurgen Klopp, it doesn't matter, man. I think these fixtures are just simply too good to ignore. But we do have to keep an eye on preseason just to get a simple idea of how Liverpool are going to play, and also a good idea of players that will be starting in that attacking lineup with Mohamed Salah. Because I'm not going to lie, if Jota was to start in number 9 for Liverpool, I definitely most 100% would have him in my team alongside Salah maybe, or instead of Salah, because I think Jota's a class option when he does play. But yeah, I mean, Liverpool, in my opinion, I think their assets, especially Salah, are really good to own. Obviously, Salah does take penalties as well, and yeah, man, Salah is like just the FPL GOAT, bro. So yeah, I think he's a really good option. I like the Foden pick a lot because he was last year's Premier League player of the season, and since we don't have Haaland in this draft, I think Phil Foden provides a great alternative option for a Manchester City player. Last year, Foden managed to get a total of 19 goals and 8 assists in 33 Premier League starts, which is absolutely incredible. And like I said, man, Manchester City have some decent fixtures as well, which does include playing against Ipswich at home in game week 2, which is again another captaincy option. Yeah, since we don't have Haaland, I feel like it's very important to get that Man City cover in game weeks 2, 3 and 4, where they have some really nice fixtures. You know, they're playing West Ham away after they play Ipswich, and then Brentford at home. So these are the kind of games where, you know, if you don't have Haaland, you definitely want at least a Phil Foden in your team to get those attacking returns, because this is a potential game where Man City could win 6-0, for example, when they play Ipswich. West Ham away, they could win 3-0, for example. Like, Man City are proven to be a high goal scoring team, so you want to have one of their main starting attacking players in Phil Foden, especially when you don't have Haaland in this draft. I've gone for Bukayo Saka because we know that he is Arsenal's main attacking goal threat. Last season he managed to rank up a total of 16 goals and 12 assists in 35 starts, which is absolutely incredible. He's also got some decent fixtures to start the season. I wouldn't say they're amazing, but I wouldn't say they're bad at all. I think they're just decent fixtures. I look at them and I see that potential there, to be fair, from an attacking standpoint. I think Arsenal can definitely score some goals in these fixtures. You know, Wolves at home, Aston Villa away, Brighton at home. I think the two home games, Wolves at home and Brighton at home, you know, Saka's got high potential for points there. Aston Villa away is definitely a bit tricky, but by no means is it impossible to get an attack and return, either a goal and an assist. I think Saka can definitely do that, and he's shown that over the last 2 seasons. Some people might not be willing to spend that 10 million on Bukayo Saka. They might want to downgrade to Odegaard, who is a little bit cheaper at 8.5, but I think it's worth it spending that extra money on Saka purely because of the penalties that he takes. And yes, I know sometimes Odegaard would take them, but more times than not, it definitely was Bukayo Saka. So because of that, I think it makes him worth it. And also, when you watch Arsenal play, when you see the way that they play football and who's furthest up in the pitch and who's in the box and who's getting more shots off, it's Bukayo Saka, man. He's the one at the heart of everything usually. Odegaard is at the heart of everything, but in midfield. But when you get to that final third, that's when Saka shines. And I think for FPL, that's where you want your midfielders to be. You know, you want your midfielders to be as high up the pitch as possible. You know, your Sakas, your Fodens, your Salahs, these guys are always extremely close to goal, and I think that is the same for Bukayo Saka as well. So yeah, man, I think he's got a lot of potential this season to get loads of FPL points and score and assist in many games. So of course I had to go and pick Cole Palmer. I already spoke about him in last video, man, but he just had to go in my team. Last season he managed to get 22 goals and 13 assists, guys. He was absolutely cooking last season. He also scored the most points out of any player in FPL and really proved to be a great option in this game, and I think he can replicate that form into the start of the season because the fixtures for Chelsea are really good. Yes, I know they play Manchester City at home in the first game week, which, to be fair, you never know, he could actually score in, but let's just say he doesn't do anything in that game. The fixtures after that are absolutely amazing. He's got Wolves away, Crystal Palace at home, Bournemouth away, West Ham away, Brighton at home, Forest at home. These fixtures are absolutely amazing, and if Cole Palmer can play to the standard that he did last season, then I think, yeah, man, this guy is an absolute must-have in my opinion. I mean, even though he costs 10.5 million now, I still think he's worth the money. I know some people might say that Chelsea are a bit of an unknown quantity and we don't know how they're going to perform under their new manager, Enzo Maresca, but even under Poch last season, where they were absolutely terrible, Cole Palmer still managed to pull through and score loads of goals and get plenty of assists. So I've got high hopes for Cole Palmer this season. I think he'll be able to replicate last season's form, and if he can, for me, he's an absolute must-have, man. I think this guy will probably most definitely be in my game week 1 final draft, to be honest with you guys. I really do think he will be, because like I said, man, this guy's amazing. He takes penalties as well, takes some corners, free kicks. He is at the heart of everything at Chelsea Football Club right now. So yeah, man, absolutely amazing player, and I think for FPL, man, just so good. So I've gone for this Anthony Elanga pick because I do like the fixtures that Nottingham Forest have. As I said, bro, they've got like Bournemouth at home in game week 1, Southampton away in game week 2, Wolves at home in game week 3. Even in game weeks 4 and 5, they got Brighton and Fulham. I think those fixtures are some of the best fixtures to start the season with, alongside Liverpool. Obviously, I would prefer to have Morgan Gibbs-White, if I'm honest, because I think, you know, he takes the penalties. He's on all set pieces for Forest. So I would prefer him, but unfortunately, I just don't have the funds for that, okay? I do not have the money to spend on Gibbs-White, unfortunately, in this draft. So we're going to have to downgrade and go for Elanga. By no means do I think that's bad at all. I just would prefer Morgan Gibbs-White, but I still think Elanga is going to be a very good option to have to start the season. And also, I think he'll be a good differential. Not many people probably go for Elanga because they probably think he's not good enough, or they might think there's better options. But I actually think Elanga is actually a pretty good differential to go with at the start of the season. I think there's a lot of potential there with him. He's proven himself quite a bit last season for Forest. I think he was quite a key player for them. So yeah, man, I think at the start of this upcoming season, I think he's a player that you should definitely consider. So moving on into the defense, we've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, Murillo, and Dan Burn. At the price of 7 million, I really do like Trent Alexander-Arnold as an option. He's Liverpool's most creative player with a high potential for attacking returns. He's someone that gets loads of goals and assists for a defender. So I really do think he's a good option. And like I said when talking about Mohamed Salah, Salah. The fixtures for Liverpool are absolutely amazing. From a defensive point of view for Trent, I think it's also good because I think he can get clean sheets in some of these games. You know, Ipswich away, Brentford at home, Forest at home, Bournemouth at home. These are definitely games where you could kind of expect Liverpool to get a clean sheet. Yes, I know we don't know how Liverpool are going to be as a team, as a defensive unit under their new manager Arne Slot, but at the end of the day, we know that Liverpool do have some quality players, so you would expect them to definitely pick up some clean sheets in their first 6 or 7 games. So yeah, man, I think Alexander-Arnold, with the combination of clean sheets and then the potential with getting an assist and a goal, I think he is a great player to own at the start of the season and is definitely someone that you should consider, in my opinion. I've also gone for Murillo and Dan Burn because I do like the fixtures that Nottingham Forest and Newcastle do have. Both teams show that they could be quite solid defensively at times last season, especially Newcastle when playing at home. You would usually back them to get a clean sheet when they are playing the lower teams within the league. Like, for example, in game week 1 when Dan Burn's playing Southampton at home, that's sort of a fixture where you would expect Newcastle to get a clean sheet. And the same kind of goes for Nottingham Forest when they're playing those lesser teams at home, you know, with the crowd behind them. You would expect a clean sheet. But not only that, I've picked these two because they do rotate well with some of the defenders that we have on the bench, which I'll get onto in a second. Yes, there are some other options that you could go for, some other cheap options like Conter at 4.5, maybe a Manchester United defender at 4.5. I think Lisandro Martinez is 4.5 million this year, so you could go for him, but I'm not too sure because obviously Manchester United defensively were statistically one of the worst teams in the league, guys, alright? So we faced like the most shots in the Premier League, which is not a good sign, alright? You don't want your you know, your defenders in FPL facing that many shots because you'd expect them to concede at that point. So yeah, there are some options, and I know Manchester United are making some new signings. Like at the time of recording, we just have signed that new centre-back called Euro, who will help us defensively, of course. But yeah, I'm still a bit unsure, and like I said, I do like the rotations and combinations that I've made with Murillo, Dan Burn and the players on the bench, which I will get onto in a second. So to finish off the team, in the goalkeeper position, we've got Robert Sanchez of Chelsea. Now at the time of recording, I'll admit we don't 100% know if he's going to be the starting goalkeeper, but I think as pre-season goes on and on and on, and we see the lineups that Chelsea put out, it will give us a better indication on whether Sanchez will be the starting goalkeeper. Because if Sanchez is the starting goalkeeper, I think he's a great option for a set and forget. Chelsea have got some good fixtures to start the season, but just generally throughout the season, I think having a Chelsea goalkeeper at 4.5 million is really good value. I have seen some reports online suggesting that Enzo Maresca does want to keep Robert Sanchez as his #1 goalkeeper, but at the end of the day, it's all just speculation at the moment, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens. So on the bench, we've got Fabianski, Robinson, Mikalenko and Fraser, and that does complete the FPL draft with no Haaland, guys. But before we do end the video, I'm going to quickly head over to FPL Team so we can look at some of the possible rotations and what the team will look like in the next few game weeks. Alright, so we're on FPL Team, and I'm just going to show you guys what the team will look like for the next few weeks and some possible transfers and rotations that you could do with this team. So in game week 1, of course, this is how the team would look. Pretty good, pretty nice, and we would obviously be captaining, you know, Alexander Isak at this point. You got João Pedro against Everton, and you got some amazing other players as well: Isak, Elanga, Salah, Saka, etc. You guys know. All right, so yeah, moving on into game week 2 now. So this is what you would do. The defense is looking pretty steady, pretty solid. You got Trent at Brentford. At home, you got Dan Burn away to Bournemouth and Murillo away to Southampton. You've also got Robertson at home to Leicester. Now, because he's got the home fixture, you could argue maybe to start him instead of Dan Burn, because last season Newcastle away from home weren't the best, so that's a possible option that you could do. We know that Robinson is very attacking as well, so he can provide those attacking returns, you know, those assists from getting those crosses into the box. But yeah, other than that, the midfield is looking very nice. We've got Foden there at home to Ipswich. You'd probably captain him this week. Obviously there is no Haaland, so yeah, you need to be very careful of who you decide to captain, because yeah, there's no Haaland in this draft. Salah's also a good option because you've got Brentford at home. But yeah, overall, the team is looking very solid. We've got Elanga playing against Southampton away from home as well. So yeah, game week 2, you probably wouldn't have to make any transfers, which is always nice. You'd probably just bank the transfer unless you get any injuries, of course. But yeah, moving on to game week 3 now. Once again, the defense is looking pretty solid. Obviously, we've got Trent Alexander-Arnold playing against Manchester United away from home, a fixture where he would probably concede, if I'm honest. So you'd probably bench Trent. Well, I would bench Trent personally, so I would bench him for Mykolenko. Everton last season were pretty solid defensively. They got Bournemouth at home as well. It's always nice having a home fixture for your defenders. And then the midfield once again is looking very, very nice. Elanga against Wolves at home, Salah against United, definitely a fixture that he loves to score goals in. Saka against Brighton at home, Palmer against Palace. The only tough fixture really in this one is João Pedro away to Arsenal, unfortunately. That's not the best of things there. You could transfer him out, but I'm not sure there's any other great 5.5 options. So maybe just for this one, maybe you start Trent and bench João Pedro, but I'm not sure what you would exactly do there. You could maybe you just have to unfortunately just stick with João Pedro, or if there's a new 5.5 gem that comes out that starts performing, then maybe you can transfer him out. But then game week 4, you could again make those rotations with the defense. So Trent Alexander-Arnold would come back into the side at home to Nottingham Forest. You'd bench him for Murillo, and then you'd have Mykolenko away to Aston Villa. You'd have Dan Burn on the bench away to Wolves, and I think at this point Dan Burn would probably come out because the fixtures are not really that great. Newcastle last season away from home weren't too good from a defensive point of view, and they've got a lot of away games here, away to Wolves, away to Fulham, away to Everton, so it's not really ideal, if I'm honest. So I'd probably get rid of Dan Burn. The options, like I said previously, are probably Konsa. I think Konsa's probably one of the best options to pick, or you could obviously go for a Manchester United defender. I think both options are pretty good. So let's just say for this example, we went for Konsa. You would have Konsa in there for, I'd probably say Mykolenko. And then there you go. You got, again, all defenders playing at home, which is nice. All the midfielders look pretty good. At this point, you do have Elanga playing against Liverpool. So you could, since you've got 3 transfers saved up, you could genuinely take out Elanga for someone like an Andres Pereira, for example, who I think is a low-key good differential pick, because I don't think many people will go for him. But the fixtures for Fulham are pretty decent, and obviously, like I said, bro, there's 2 home games there against West Ham and Newcastle, and then away to Forest. So if you wanted to avoid that Liverpool fixture that Elanga has, then maybe you could go for someone like Andres Pereira, who is at the same price as Elanga. But yeah, man, these are just some of the things that you could do. Nothing is set in stone, of course, guys. Like there's going to be players that probably perform that we don't expect to perform. So yeah, you can't really pre-plan transfers at this point in time, but it's just to give you a rough idea of what the squad will look like. As you can see, the core of the team is pretty good in my opinion. You've got some good rotations there with the defenders, which I like, and in most weeks you can avoid playing the tough teams, the top 6 teams with this team. So yeah, I do like it. But let me know, guys, what do you think of this draft? Okay, are you liking this draft? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. Make sure to follow me on TikTok, FPL Ryan. Subscribe, smash that like button, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.